Hey, good evening, everyone. My topic is cross-site scripting. I didn't actually prepare many slides. I just have 8 slides. So I'll try to explain possibly on hands-on. I want a lot of interaction from you because I just want it to be two-way presentation. Let's just start. So cross-site scripting. You might have heard this. Like if you are into web application pen testing, you might have heard this. Like this is the favorite vulnerability of any web application pen tester. So what actually is cross-site scripting? So as you can read, so I'll just read and I'll explain what I've understood and what actually it means. So cross-site scripting is a web security vulnerability that allows an attacker to compromise the interaction and use it's all the Wikipedia stuff, right? So let me just break it down. A lot of web pages right now are dynamic, right? Let's say if you enter you enter a website and it just stays as it is. It does nothing. It just displays the information it is intended to. Then it might not be more attractive, right? If let's say if I design a web page where it takes user interaction, it interacts with the user, it takes the user input and display the result according to my input, that would be better than the static one, right? So due to this part of interaction that website should be interacting more with the users. So a lot of a lot of scripting will be done to the website, to make it more dynamic, not just HTML and CSS. So this part of being actually interactive with the user allows attacker to make his attacks possible, because if the web page is interactive, it is depending upon the my input, right? So let's say if I want to search for cars, then when I input the cars, it will display the cars, which means I am the in the control of the output which is getting. So this part of taking user interaction and make the website more dynamic has led to many type of attacks, like SQL injection or any basic injection attacks. So one of that is cross-site scripting. So what happens in cross-site scripting is basic definition is when if there is any attacker, so we'll just put a malicious code in such a way that it will perform operations which initially it is not intended to do. So that's actually the basic idea of cross-site scripting. So what can cross-site scripting do? It allows attacker to inject client-side scripting. Yes, I'll explain the types of cross-site scripting in future in next slides. And this happens because user does not developer does not sanitize the user input. And yes, you know what this all actually means. So cross-site scripting attacks are possible in VB script and ActiveX. So a lot of might have you might have heard that cross-site scripting is basically because of JavaScript running in the background. But you can actually execute cross-site scripting with web pages running VB script of ActiveX. And yes, it's most common in JavaScript. So that's the whole point. So what can cross-site scripting be used for? So if let's say if I get a cross-site scripting attack, if I let a page execute the cross-site scripting payload, so what can I do from there? So I can impersonate a victim user, how and carry out the action from the user perspective and read the user credentials, all that. So I just explain. So let's say if I got the access of the script of the page, so what I can do is I can write a type of script that will take the user documents, and let's say if I run a reversal in backend, then it will send all the details to the one the server which I am running it. So what actually it does is it acts as a spyware in your so you might have heard this word called spyware, right? So that's the it's kind of that thing done on web page. So if you want it to be persistent, then you can perform such actions like stealing cookies, stealing credentials, or injecting a Trojan. Like I can write a script in such a way that if a user enters the web page, a payload will get automatically downloaded to his computer or something. I can if you are given permissions to write something on a web page, then your imagination is the limit. You can chain it with other type of attack and let the get this stuff done. So there are basically four type of cross-site scripting. Many people say three, but there are actually four. So what reflected cross-site scripting is, let's say when you enter enter a malicious payload, which is cross-site, which XSS payload, it will get executed only on the client side. So let's say if I write a payload in such a way that when I enter a page, it will take my documents and send it to attacker. So if I write it in reflected cross using reflected payload, it does it just only execute one time, so it only runs at the client side. uh, I hope you understood, because yes, so it actually runs on the client side actually. So if you refresh the page, then the payload is done, payload is exhausted, so it actually runs one time on the client side. And second is stored cross-site scripting. So what happens in this is, generally the payload you wrote, which you will write, will get stored in database, right? So if there is something in database, then it can be called any number of times. So that's the principle of stored cross-site scripting. So when you write any payload, when it gets stored in database, then it will affect everyone. In reflected cross-site scripting, let's say I created a payload, and it will get executed only on my side. If I send the same link to, let's say, another user, and it will not triggered on his web page, because it's running on only on my interface, only on my session. So in stored cross-site scripting, actually the payload gets stored in database, so that no matter any user access, if let's say I'm a user and Sticker is another user. So if I write a payload in a such a way that it will get stored in database, then if even Sticker opens the web page, then even the XSS will get triggered on his website too, because at the end of the day it is stored in database and it is permanent. And third is DOM cross-site scripting. So what DOM cross-site scripting is like, site scripting. So I'll just repeat 2 points and we'll be done with the slides, and I'll move on to the practical part. So what DOM is actually when a web page, when browser get web pages from the backend, it will store HTML in a format, on a tree structure format, and this tree structure can be accessed using an object called document in JavaScript. So if you've done front end coding UI, a front end development, you might have heard this whole called document. So generally it is used for things like document dot get element id or document dot get inner html. Did anyone work on JavaScript among you all? uh, am I being audible, right? So did anyone of you work in JavaScript?
Yes, I know.
So you might, okay, so there is this object called document, which will allow to control total HTML CSS present in the website. So if so that's actually DOM. So DOM, what happens in DOM based cross-site scripting is, we'll try access this object, document object, and try injecting our XSS payload using these DOM objects. So that's DOM cross-site scripting. And blind cross-site scripting, it's similar as yes, SQL injection. So in any basic type of injection attacks, when you try to inject the payload, it will get reflected somewhere around, on the web page, or any other page. So what happens in bind cross-site scripting is, when you write a payload, so you don't actually know where will it get reflected. So let's say I have put an XSS payload in admin page. So for example, as an example of blind cross-site scripting, if I put a payload in admin page, it will get reflected in, let's say, in profile page, or feed page. So that's blind cross-site scripting. You don't actually know where the payload get executed. So that's those are the types of cross-site scripting. You'll understand in a while. I'll just explain. So how to hunt for cross-site scripting. So as I said, this is totally based on user input. Uh, so if you see a parameter where you can feed your input, then that would be a potential injection point. And and yes, in URLs, of course, and input tags or comment boxes or anywhere. So how can we check for cross-site scripting? Is, first, let's say you put something like, if you want to search for, let's say, a car, then you just put something like a car, and if that keyword get reflected somewhere in the web page, then it might be vulnerable to reflected cross-site scripting. And it might be vulnerable because most of the web pages are they have implemented these whitelisting and filters. So the possibility of XSS being triggered is very low. And uh, and and yeah, that's it. So if you get confirmation that your text is being reflected, then you can go for the testing for other payloads. So that's it. How can you find where to find these cross-site scripting vulnerabilities in contact us, search bar, comment box. So if you notice, then there is common thing in all these, that is user is able to put the input. So that's where actually that's where the most important, it's a crucial point where excesses can be happen, where user input is allowed. And how do we raise our impact? Like, let's say if I get a cross-site scripting executed on web page, then I can steal his cookies, and I can execute a keylogger, and I can if I put a keylogger there, then everything he type, like keystrokes and everything, will be sent back to me. So in that way I can steal his credentials and steal data from page. They might be put like very personal details such as bank account details, or let's say some personal details might be present on the web page. Like if you go to the your profile page, then there might be account number. So such sensitive data can be sent back to user using XSS, and you can execute the JavaScript functions like yes, you has explained phishing pages, right? So I can uh, put an iframe, and I can put, let's say, a Google phishing of Google account or something, because it is actually getting pop up on a genuine website. So user will genuinely think it's from the website, and he'll try putting his email ID and password. So that's how XSS can be uh, it is vulnerable, and you can leverage the vulnerabilities from there. And how to prevent excesses is first rule is just don't trust the user input, because that's the main injection point. So don't trust the user input. uh, Encode the output data, that is try using encrypted algorithms to while passing to from front end to back end, and use appropriate headers. Like there are some headers like X content type and XSS headers which should be implemented uh, in the web pages, so they might prevent XSS attack from being happening. So that's the end of the theoretical part. And if there is time and if you are interested, then I'll just show the 2 3 practical attacks.
Yeah, sure.
If you're okay with it, like if it's fine, then I can.
You can.
Yes, it's fine.
So I might need a little interaction from you too, because I'll be crafting payload based on your responses. So
Okay.
let's say okay, just give me a minute. You can I hope you can able to see the screen, Nahamsik. You can, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, it.
So okay, so we'll try a first simple XSS payload. Hmm. Okay, just give me a minute. I'll start the Docker. I guess now you can able to see the screen. So let me know if there is any latency between what I say and what I present. Okay. So main part of understanding how XSS happens is you'll have to understand where does the user input go. So let's say if I type Agastya over here, and I try enter try proceeding, and it will show me the further steps. So it shows the hello Agastya. And so this is let's say this is a normal web page where you're asked to uh, input something, and you input something. I mean, you input what you actually entered into. So how to test for XSS is first see if it's actually able to take the user input. I mean, I'll just show. So what am I doing is I'm just putting, adding a HTML tag, which underlines the user input. So if you know HTML, then it's a basic tag. So if I press enter, then okay, now you can see that uh, Agastya has been underlined. So this confirms us that HTML data can be input in the website. Hello.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so now I got confirmation that HTML data is being allowed. Then I'll put okay, just give me a minute. Did someone text me? Okay, it's fine. So now we got confirmation that page is rendering HTML, right? So I'll put a simple script over here. You might have you might know this is a simple script. So what am I trying to do is I'm trying to tell to the browser that whenever I enter the page, then alert a pop up, say something like okay, Sherlock. So when I enter this, it should show me a pop up, and yes, it will show me a pop up. uh, So as you can see, this is how actually cross-site scripting works. So this is an example of reflected cross-site scripting, which means if I send this link to, let's say, another user, and if we execute this, then this pop-up might not occur on his website. I mean, does not run on his website. So this is basically how an XSS works. So there are techniques in which XSS can be they won't actually run because you developers might put words such as alert or script on whitelisting, or they might have installed web application filewares on the end. So we'll just try to under so as I said, the main funda of cross-site scripting is understand where our data goes. So I'll try do this again. I'll enter my name, and of course I'll try asking questions after this, because so so if I do inspect element, then it will show me where our data is being passed. Okay, just give me a minute, my system is slow. So I hope you can see this thing called input value is equal to Agastya, right? Or will I have to zoom it a little bit?
No, no, it's fine.
So the input I am entering is entering into this tag called input, and it is being taken into this variable called value. So if you've done a little bit of programming, then you might know this topic called semicolons or strings, right? So how basically string is
Yes,
taken is uh, so so how basically string is taken is it will take the first what it's called single quote, which it will consider as a starting point of the string, and whenever it encounters a second single quote, and it will consider it as an ending point of the string. So you know this basic programming concept, right? So okay, confirm me something, dude.
yes, yes, yes.
Okay, so this might seem boring because hacking is actually boring if you don't pay attention. So uh, so what's happening actually here is so when I enter something, let's say Augusta, it is being taken into this value, variable called value. So what we can do is we can craft a payload in such a way that uh, okay, such a way that our our input ends. Okay. So now you can see the payload. This is payload. So what this payload actually does is it as you know the concept of the string, so that I mean, if it encounters the second first what do you call that, second double quotes, then it will consider it as a string termination. So I'll put a double quote in starting of the string, which denotes that my input has been end till now. I mean, now my input has been end. So from next, you don't care, because ultimately it has to get the value, right? So as I put double quote to it, I indicate that now input has been done, and next part, what I do next part is not actually of its business. So I don't know how to explain that part. So I crafted my payload in such a way that it alerts me a pop-up saying one, and when it gets executed, it'll show a pop-up. So you can see this, I guess. So and okay, now room is pretty much bored. So I'll just try ending with this thing, and I'll show how automatically you can do this, an automated scan. So just tell me one thing. So if I type Agastya, can someone let me know where it is getting reflected?
In the input of that code,
Hmm?
In the source code, maybe.
Okay, but try. Yes, I mean, of course, it will reflect in source code, but you can visually see a point where it is actually getting reflected.
In hyperlink also, like welcome Agastya, it's also visible then.
Uh, yes, exactly. So it is getting reflected in title tag. You understood, right? So that's how XS is totally about. You just type something and you know where it is getting reflected and try to escape what it's actually holding. So now when I type Agastya, it is getting reflected in title tag. So now you'll have to understand how the title tag is closed. Like in past we've seen in string, right? So string is getting okay. What's this? So string has closed because we have put the double quote termination, and now here we can see that a tag ends with a tag name, and it and ends with the end tag. Okay, that's how HTML is. So if I want to escape the title tag, I'll have to put this thing called slash title as my input. So what it does is it will allow me to escape the uh, uh, value or variable which it's actually holding. So as a result, I can execute my payload over there. So this is the payload. So what am I doing is I'm telling that just end the tag over here and don't care what's happening next. So that's the basically payload. So you enter it and it will show you a pop-up. So that's it. That's how an XSS work.